Now, how do we feel about Concord shuttering its doors forever as it sails off into the sunset?
I think it could have bounced back. Like I said, bro, like No Man's Skies is a proof to that, bro. If things could bounce back with the right investment, I just do feel this current gaming community, or I would say ecosystem, there's very little room for that. I would say, and
Mm,
that's very sad. That's very sad to see, because I do got to give them props. Like this studio does have some good credentials.
hmm
They do have good experience in making multiplayer style games, and I think that's something that Sony wanted to really invest into, because especially on a first party scale. But then my thing about it is like, all right, I get it. This particular thing did not go well off launch. Okay, if it needed some more polish, give it that. But then you also got to look at the other factors. Is like, bro, there's a lot of competition right now. Because like I keep saying it, bro, that Valorant release was the seal in the coffin. And then Marvel Rivals is like really around the curve. There's too many big players in this arena as of now that has so many of players' attention. And then like how
Yes.
you just said, like bro, as we get older, you're literally picking to choose what you're going to play for 2 to 4 hours.
Yeah. 2 to 4 hours
It's not,
over the next 6 months.
yeah. And then of course, like people train for tournaments and all these other things. So there's people who choose this one game and say, I am going to play this every single day until this next tournament comes around.
hmm
And and I get it. That's part of the esports scene, bro. There are people, but no, all I play is on the night. That's all I play.
hmm
No, I can't. I can't take a day off from playing on the night.
I can't allow my
So
ranked setting to
yeah,
reset.
yeah. So I mean, like, it's sad, man. Because like I said, we're starting to see a trend where the studio is blamed, which I don't feel like it's fair. Because
it,
first
it
of all,
it reminds me of the film industry, right? Where like when a movie is bad, it's like, oh, the director's just horrible. I'm like, the
hmm,
director only followed y'all vision. Let's be for real.
yeah, because like people got to really realize the parent company has a lot of pull into certain things, man.
Yes.
And it's just a simple fact of the matter is that you purchased this studio. You purchased a studio where people they were minding their own business, and now since they're under your flagship, now they gotta go. So that means I
hmm
basically, I was purchased. My
Yeah.
job, my title was purchased, and
Tim,
now I'm getting
you were
fired.
acquired. You were acquired,
Acquired,
Tim. You were part of
yes.
a bigger merger, Tim.
Yeah,
Rewind.
and now I'm getting fired. So like it would like it would have probably made more sense. Like, yeah, if you close the studio, of course, but then you revert those talents to other things.
Yep.
Because let's just say like some of these games have had multiplayer components. Like, look for example, people. I remember that day when that Uncharted 2 trailer dropped with multiplayer. People was like, "Wait, how does this work in the Uncharted world?" And boy, did it work!
They figured it
It
out.
worked.
hmm
And that's still one of the biggest top multiplayer experiences PlayStation has from a first party outside of Killzone and Resistance. But then, guess what? That's what I said, man. People have been saying for years that, Sony's flagship shooters have needed a revival. Maybe you could have diverted those people towards that.
Yeah.
But it's just sad. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Before I get your opinion on it, Tim, your conversation made me think of something. Do you guys think that it's fair for Firewalk to bear the brunt of this? Because to what you said, Tim, is like, I was just acquired for having an idea. Like, it was not, like it wasn't. Again, to be fair, we don't know how it was pitched to Sony, right? Who knows how it was presented to them? But I would imagine that the people behind this weren't selling this as like Sony's next best thing. Of like,
Hmm.
we're worth a $200 million acquisition plus marketing for this game. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like that was the case with this game. But what
Hmm.
are you guys' thoughts on that?
It's a mix of both, man. I
Mm,
do feel like, when they present things to the head, which is Sony. I do feel like sometimes things get lost in transition. Like, oh no, we want our characters to get like this because I do feel like a lot of people are trying to really copy the Marvel formula, the
mhm.
Marvel and Apple formula of things. But then you really realize, man, you're just ruining the nature of games. They're
Yeah.
really bringing such unnecessary factors to this ecosystem that is going to hurt. Because, and we're seeing it happen with multiple properties now these days, where like nothing is safe. And I was excited because this is a one of the acquired studios, and I was just
Hmm.
glad that they're finally putting something out, because
Hmm.
when you really look at everybody else, everybody's just in this limbo state outside of
Yeah.
like Sucker Punch, but then
Yeah.
outside
And
of
even
Sucker
that's,
Punch,
yeah. Yeah.
out of all your first party studios, no, you don't hear nothing from nobody.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from Medium Molecule in years. You already know, Gran Turismo. That's the only game they're gonna release. They don't need not. They don't
They
need.
know where their bread is buttered.
They don't. They don't need nothing else. But then what about Sony Santa Monica? What of like about all these other studios that are under this flagship name? What are they producing? And of
Hmm.
course, Insomniac is stuck in this limbo. So it's like, okay, so what about everybody else?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like Firewalk kind of got trotted out. Like, look, it's all on you guys, and it's just like, dang, is it? Why? Like, why them? Why were they picked as like you got a kid? Like, now go Lil Wayne, this Cash Money Records, and save us. It's like, why did Firewalk kind of get like this huge push? You pretty much spent the Spider-Man 2 budget acquiring them. Like that's just, it just felt like, why? What about this to them felt like we got one? That's just the thing that I'm like, I don't understand.
It's accountability. It's accountability. Like
And lack thereof.
the lack of thereof, bro. Because no company is going to really come out and say, "All right, my bad," or do what you need to do to save it. Because I kind of feel like it's coming out to the point where, like, yes, the marketing is bare minimum. They're expecting things to sell due to like flagship rights. Like once you see that PlayStation Studios logo, it's supposed to sell. Like even like like yeah, like names. Everybody's they're trying to bank off the names of things versus,
Yeah.
because we see it happening now with all these remasters. Like everybody just trying to bring back a remaster of this or a remake of that, and just trying to bank on the name of it versus what is the actual substance. I personally felt like from that Concord beta, and that's the purpose of betas. Is this product ready?
Right.
If
To
it's
test the
not,
waters. Hmm.
then it's not.
Yeah. And if your beta numbers were that low, it's probably a gauge. If this is what's happening when it's free, right? Free in this state, it's not looking good for $40.
It also should have been free to play. I feel like if you really wanted to give it a fair advantage in this market for it to build over time, it should have been free, bro. Because trust me, bro, like even, and this is a good example. I remember when Virtua Fighter came back with that latest upscale. It was free on the PlayStation Plus for
Mm-hmm.
2 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much people downloaded that? I
Yep.
was away on a trip, and as soon as I stepped into my house, I turned on my PS5 and downloaded that. Just so.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
downloaded it
just
also.
like you can't beat that. You really cannot beat that, because now you're on a much more steady ground for people to test out this product, see how they want to invest into it, and yes, like look at Genshin Impact. It's free to play, and then they make most of their money from the microtransactions. People
Mm-hmm.
like skins, bro. I I I
Do
I
they?
I've been sucking into many skins before, many, and I'm not gonna downplay it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Not
the simple fact is like $40 is expensive in this time and age, bro. It really is.
$40 for a new IP, I'll say.
Yes.
Because it's not that bad. But when you're like, hey, come invest, make this initial investment to invest more, it's like, why would I do that? I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
Frank, what do you think about the closure of Firewalk Studios and work the remains of what Concord has caused?
I think that's a that's an extremely poor form of management, in my opinion. Like, you acquired this. Did they ask you to be acquired, or did you do this out of your own desire, out of your own, and then only for them, you acquiring them because you did you acquire them to bet on them, or did you acquire them to like be a part of Sony? It kind of
I
felt
think
like,
I think they were trying to bet on them, because when you really look at the history, a lot of these firework studio heads, they were ex members of Bungie, but then
Mm,
Sony acquired Bungie.
And
it's
so
Everything
kind of
leads back
like
to live service.
it's
and
like
so
yeah, everything goes back to like, and this brings me back to the dark ages of Resistance 2. People felt that Resistance 2 was a step downward in certain areas because they removed the Ratchet and Clank weapon wheel that was in part 1 and part 3 because they
Hmm.
were trying to make it the Halo killer, so you were only limited to 2 weapons at a time. And I kind of feel like that's where Sony went wrong with this. Like, you're still trying to be this Halo, what's the Destiny type of like Titan once again in terms, because
Hmm.
you feel like that's the only way to bring people units in your system is through this multiplayer format. And I get it, Sony, they were very strategic when they, basically took over the fighting game community. It was very strategic and it worked out in your
It
favor.
worked
And I
beautifully
think
for
this
them.
was probably their push in the realm of shooters, but it's sloppy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels very antiquated. Like
Yeah.
it didn't feel like a strategic. We know what we're doing. We're playing like making very key moves. Just like live service, Fortnite. They print money. We want to print money. Buy. Pitch, 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 pitch. Release, 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 release. But sorry, that's right. You were saying.
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, I think that it's what's the purpose of you buy? You did this to two studios. It's almost like Microsoft and at the same time. Like, why did you buy Tango Gameworks and you know that you needed a banger, and then now you just give up on the company and you're investing in stuff that's not even remotely interesting. Like, this
Yeah,
studio already proved itself. This studio, it's your guys' fault that this game is this way. We want a live service game and we want this now. And now, hey, since you guys weren't giving me the live service game that was technically impossible to make, you're fired.
yeah,
I just these are very moronic moves, and I don't think the company's gonna suffer because of the way they were let go. Everybody understands what that is in business terms. They was like, "Oh, that's not fair. You guys were technically forced to make this game that you didn't want to make." I don't think they wanted to make the game. Again, I don't know if they pitched this to Sony and say, "Hey, this is gonna work." I don't know why people thought that would work. The designs weren't compelling, the story wasn't compelling, and I don't care for another
The
sure.
gameplay was not.
the
The game. I don't
gameplay.
think the gameplay was bad. It wasn't
It
bad.
wasn't compelling. It wasn't
It's
Oh,
compelling,
not
bro.
okay.
It
Yeah, yeah,
compelling.
wasn't.
yeah, yeah.
It's not
It
Okay.
wasn't
compelling.
compelling,
Okay.
bro.
Fair.
The
It didn't
characters
like
aren't
catch your eye
compelling.
like, ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
fair.
wasn't okay, but like, y'all got Destiny. Why should I play this if I'm already playing Destiny? That's what I'm saying in my head. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
saying? Why would I play this now over Destiny, which I have a whole history with that's
mm-hmm.
now on Sony? Like, why would I play this game? It's looking like now, because of that, Marathon is now like, yo, I think it's nobody wants these shooters. Why should I like this character? Because Overwatch isn't having the popularity that it once had.
Nope.
Why do you think that's gonna work? Valorant is played, but who cares? Right? I'm not thinking about Valorant. I don't see Valorant show up on my timeline.
Yeah, it
Right?
has its like
Valorant,
key audience, and that is
and
it.
that's it. Like, just like the Counter-Strike people, you feel me? But I don't
The
believe,
PUBG players are
yeah,
like,
PUBG players, we're having a great old time. I'm like, go ahead, you do that.
right.
I don't feel like I'm missing out, and I don't even care to be a part of your community. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not a good thing, right? Because your gameplay experience is based off of uh at the mercy of, oh, we're closing servers now.
Yeah, or it's at the mercy of your fans aging out of this gameplay loop, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and you guys didn't find a way to get anybody else on board that's younger. So
mm-hmm,
that's poor management, in my opinion, or poor vision, or poor direction for a video game. Because,
mm-hmm.
yeah, what else is there? I just think the decision it didn't make any sense. The game didn't have, why pump all this money into the game and give us uh a knockoff cereal brand version of the cereal catalogs that we're used to. I'm not picking golden frost, golden, I don't know, what do you call me, white flakes over over Frosted Flakes,
Sugar flakes.
sugar flakes, or powdered flakes, or whatever you want to call it, like
Mm,
um glazed flakes, like whatever you want to call it. I'm not picking that over. I'm not picking that over like Frosted Flakes or the series brands that we're used to.
hmm
And so I don't know. And so from that, I my heart goes out to the team. But I have a hard time believing that you guys really saw this was gonna work. Like,
I
you
think they
know,
did, bro. I think
no,
they did.
why?
Like, because like I'm glad you brought that up because that was gonna be my next thing of like, I think Sony has learned a lesson to some degree, right? There's no way you don't learn some type of lesson when you lose that much money on something that didn't work. But they're not abandoning live service, right? Like we keep hearing reports and seeing reports that yes, they've reduced the amount of live service games they're looking to put out, but Sony still has intentions on releasing, I think at the moment, three new live service games over the next couple of months. So it kind of makes me think of like, okay, you've realized that this isn't quite hitting the mark you were hoping for. Um, but what is it? I guess it's kind of like in my mind, I'm like, what are you seeing in the market that makes you feel like I need a piece of this pie? Because to Tim's point, there's so many hours in a day. Like, why do you feel like gamers are going to go to whatever you put out versus whatever's already out there?
Yeah.
Why would I do this when I could go play Black Ops or Fortnite or any of the
And
other games that already have established ecosystems?
do you don't think this puts a bad taste in my mouth if I was a PlayStation, I'm a PlayStation customer, and to see that, okay, I wanted the shooter, but this isn't the shooter I wanted. Okay, now that they didn't give me the shooter they decided for me to like, they cut ties and they punish the people. They punish
Mm-hmm.
the people for not producing what they want, and they still try the same tactic again. We're gonna just try versus not giving up with these seasoned veterans and saying, okay, Concord didn't work. Let's try to make something else. Or maybe they should have rebranded Concord and did something else with it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have totally given up on that. Okay, that's you have to take the responsibility, Sony, for that decision, not these people, not these game developers. So now you
Right.
fire these game developers, knowing you need good game developers to make a game, and you're gonna go ahead and acquire another studio to do it. Who you gonna call? You gonna call BioWare to help you?
Yeah.
You're gonna who you gonna call? Who you gonna ask for help? Right? You might as
Mm-hmm.
well bet on yourself. Okay, it didn't work. Nintendo, if they have a botched game, they don't fire their entire staff. They okay, this didn't work. We're gonna try to make another one. The Wii U didn't work. Did they fire the staff that decided to come out with it and pitched it and believed in it? No. What they did, they waved the white flag. This didn't work.
Went
Let's
back to
work on the next
formula.
best thing. Back to formula. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, like, I hope
So,
the people
mm.
I hope the people from Concord get their Norman Osborn moment. Back to formula.